Honey, sometimes you have to come early. Sometimes you have to come early. Right, Sharon? How y'all doing? Good morning, people. It's Tuesday. Guess what? It's New Year's Eve. Those of you who preparing to celebrate, we're not celebrating. So it's just another day. Yeah. Moving closer and closer to the end of our time here. I just make on live here text me. Just move it from this, you know. True. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah. So good morning, people. How everybody doing this morning here? I just come this morning to chat with y'all. Just a wee bit about a few things. That's happening. Kevin, what's up? About a few things we see that's happening. It seems that people are getting crazier and crazier. Did you all see the news where the guy shot the DoorDash man? Did y'all see that? Yeah, that happened somewhere in Fayetteville in North Carolina here. Some dude working at McDonald's and the other dude went to go pick up Kevin, what's up? How you doing? Why this thing keep on I do this? Hold on. Alright, so it don't pop up. Okay. Yeah, so the DoorDash driver went to pick up a delivery, and I don't know what kind of altercation they had, but the worker in the McDonald's shot the guy. I think that happened like Friday. Shot the guy and killed him. Like, we don't resolve differences anymore. It's just, you offend me, you die. I offend you, I die. It's just, people are using guns like they think the people they shoot are going to come back. Like, this is just a temporary thing. I'm just going to get rid of you temporarily and you're going to come back. I don't get people's mindset when it comes on to the way they handle differences and issues. People just think they got to get a permanent solution. Bang, you're done. The problem is over. But the problem is not over. The problem has just begun. Oh, child, you're right. You're right, Kevin. You are right. So it's just disheartening. Every day you wake up, it's another one. Every time you look around, it's another one. Somebody else is unaliving somebody, all because they had a disagreement, all because, you don't see things the way I do, all because we are different. It's just heartbreaking. And the people who are in Washington, instead of creating laws that will ban the wanton use of the pew-pew, they find other things to talk about, other things to worry about, some nonsense. But y'all see the infighting that is going on in what is going to be Washington in a few more days. OMG. Y'all see what's starting? In 3 more weeks, it's going to explode. Mark my word. Mark my word. They have started already to fight amongst themselves, and that one there with all those expensive toys, he's starting to disable people's accounts and cut them off because he disagrees with something they said, or it's just a hot mess. They can't agree on anything, even though they swore up and down that when they went into that booth, they all had the same agenda. Clearly, they don't. But we are here for the FAFO, even though we are going to be part of it as well. What can we do? Who's this texting me? Lord, man, it's too early. But anyway, so at this time of the morning, we usually come and do a little bit of, the Bible. We always talk about the stuff that's in the Bible. Listen, if you get triggered by people not agreeing with what you believe, with the fantasy that you believe to be true, you might be at the wrong place because I'm not sure. When me not I want penny in that something else. What I did. Okay. Yeah. But usually in the mornings at this time when I come, we usually have a little talk about stuff that I've been reading in the Bible. Because you see, my friends, I have taken on this thing with the Bible. There is something between me and the Bible. I have taken on the Bible, and I have been reading the Bible. I have been seeing all the inconsistencies and all these things that's in the Bible and all the unbelievable cruelty that exists in the Bible, a lot of which people who claim to be Christians and people who claim to know the Bible, read the Bible, study the Bible, understand the Bible, they don't want to talk about. So whenever I notice that whenever I open these conversations, whenever I say anything about what I have found in the Bible, I usually get people scurrying away, people get angry, people have unkind things to say. Oh, you go to hell. You're a heathen. Yada 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 yada. Me look like me scared too, no? Not a foolishness. That's one thing that don't bother me. And I say this all the time. If you claim you got to look in this book for it to tell you how to be a decent human being, and yet you're failing at that. So how that make you better off than me? Because all of these fallacies that are in the book, I don't understand how any well-thinking human being could embrace this and say, oh yes, that is true, that's what we need to do. Really? I want to ask a question that I asked my girlfriend yesterday. At what point are we going to separate the Bible and determine what parts of it we are not going to use? Because if you're going to tell me that as long as it's in the Bible, you're going to do it. As long as it's in the Bible, you're going to obey it. As long as it's in the Bible, you believe that God said it and God wanted us to do it. I have to ask you, how comes you are still alive? Because if we should follow the laws of Moses, almost all of us wouldn't be alive. Not true? Mm-hmm. The man will mess with the woman and her daughter. You mess with the woman, you mess with her daughter. All I know to set a fire. The man will mess with another man. The woman will mess with another man. The woman will mess with her animal. The man will mess with her animal. Which one again? Just about everybody. You mess with your sister. You mess with your mother. You mess with your father. You mess with your uncle wife or your father other wife, your father concubine, all these things. And for how deviant many of you are sexually, you wouldn't be alive. But you don't have the audacity to come at me when I'm only talking about what is in the book. It's not something like I am making up stuff or I am desperately trying. Mona, what's up? Or I'm desperately trying to anger anybody, to make anybody upset. That's not my intention. But because you all can't carry on a conversation where somebody has a different view than yours, you resort to name calling and insulting and dooming people and all of this. That's what you resort to. Me post one video on my other page the other day where I was saying that in the Leviticus, Moses said God told him that the people who had infirmities, meaning the people who had any form of disability. Exactly. Only one opinion matter and it is theirs. Exactly. And if you don't share that opinion, you are called all kinds of names and they're wishing that, something bad will happen to you so that you can realize that God is true and all of this. Why you gotta wish something bad to happen to me? because I'm not share the same view as yours. You understand? And the other day when I was talking about how at one point in Leviticus, per Leviticus, um Moses said God told him that the people who had infirmities, the people who had any kind of disability, they were not welcome at the altar, and they were not welcome to offer these burnt sacrifices to him. He didn't want anything from them because they profaned the altar, meaning they were an abomination to the altar. Their presence corrupted the altar, and God didn't want them there. And I was just like, how loving and kind is this God who is going to say to Moses, listen, I'm giving you all these instructions about how mankind should live, just for them to be on my good side. Because if they ever go on my bad side, I'm going to them. Okay? But these are the people who I do not want at all. I don't want the dwarf. The dwarf people can't come in front of the altar. They can't give me any sacrifices. If you're blind, you can't come to the altar. You can't give me any sacrifices. If you're deaf, if you're dumb, if you have one foot shorter than the other, you have scurvy, you have all of these. And then some, he said, any form of infirmity that you have, you are not welcomed. And the people them coming on my box and them saying all kind of, oh, I hope that you find God and go pray. People, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Because it's not my words. It's not like me gonna make up these words to say. It is the words that's in the Bible. So if you get triggered because of what I am revealing is in the Bible that you have never read or that you wish to suppress, that is your problem, not mine. Because I'm just reading it and saying what I see on the pages and analyzing. Then you all tell me that I don't read with understanding. Are you serious? So when I read everything else and I understand it well, I read it to understand. But when I read the Bible, I don't read it with understanding. As though the words are supposed to mean something different from what my understanding of the English language is. We have to read. Okay, Money says, that's how the New Testament come in. Exactly, Money. When you read the entire journey, the entire Hebrew journey, it leaves you with a lot of questions, no doubt. Because you have to ask yourself after you've read the Old Testament, and then you go to read the New Testament, you have to ask yourself then, if God made all these laws for Moses and the people during what is written in the Exodus, the Leviticus, back in the Old Testament, if God made all these laws and gave them to Moses, and God said to Moses, according to Moses, you shall keep these commandments, these judgments, and these statutes throughout your generations forever and ever. How comes the New Testament becomes so valid when it is saying something contrary to what was told to Moses was going to be the laws for generations? It don't make sense. So you know the story was made up, because if it wasn't, then that simply means that God changed his mind. And if so be the case, then right there, that flunks the argument that God never changes his mind. Whatever he says from the beginning goes on to the end. So you cannot answer me those questions, so then get upset. You see the thing too. When people can't go with you on the arguments that are in the Bible, per the Bible, they usually say stuff like, oh, it was men who wrote the Bible. That's a great argument. That's a great argument. Of course, yes. Men wrote the Bible because these stories were written by ancient Hebrew men, whether it was their actual experiences or their perceived experience, whatever it was written by them. Okay? They say these stories were inspired by God. So these are some great inspirations of unaliving and hating those who hate you and all of that. Okay, perhaps over time things get lost in transition. But if things have gotten lost in transition, and people who are Christian want to admit and say, oh, well, some things maybe got lost in transition. So have you discovered the lost parts that is going to make you justified in invalidating the thoughts of people who don't agree with you because they are working with the parts that they have, not some imaginary parts of the Bible, but the actual parts that they have, they are working with, and they have questions about it because the math ain't mathing. It's not making sense. Because if God said to Moses, all of these laws and judgments and statutes that I'm giving you are for the children of Israel forever and ever and ever throughout all generations. And then here comes the New Testament. And Jesus Christ says to the people, I know Moses told you these things, but it wasn't true. I want to pause there, so I ask myself then, what is not this? That's why they have people who study the Bible, and even the people who study the Bible, they are very selective. They are very selective. If you want to sit down and wait on somebody to go claim that they read the Bible and then to come back and tell you what is in it, you can be sure. I can guarantee you that that person is going to alter the information that they present to you because there are going to be things that they do not want you to know, because they do not want you to ask them a bunch of questions because they don't have the answers and they don't want to disappoint you. To say, well, you know something, I really don't have the answer. You are going to be disappointed because you're going to say then, oh, you are studying Bible every day. You're supposed to have the answer. But notice people say, oh, mama go ask pastor. Mama go ask pastor. You think pastor knows more than you? If you really intend to see it for yourself, you don't think that you can sit down and read it? So what kind of book would that be that is presented to me that I am not worthy enough to read it for myself and understand it, even though it is presented to me in my native tongue? Why would it be that you'll present to me the Constitution, you'll present to me any other document, any novel, anything, and you would expect me to read it with understanding? And then some ancient writings from some ancient people, you present that to me in a compilation and you say to me, yes, read this. And then when I read it and I interpret it the way I understand the English language, you say to me, oh no, that's not right. Is that just because it does not suit my interpretation does not suit the ideology that you have going on in your head? All right, example. Don't do anything. Okay. Example, don't do anything on the seventh day. And he asked, if the sheep got lost, would he not look for the sheep? We have to pick things that make sense. You are right. You are right. So clearly, these tons of laws and judgments and statutes that Moses was handing down to the people did not make sense. I've said that a million times. It did not make sense. But later on, this is my understanding of this whole thing. Later on, years and years and years later, the people realized, the Hebrew leaders realized, this don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. It is not sustainable. We are going to have to change this. If we want people to come back to Judaism, if we want people to continue holding the ideologies of Judaism to heart, we have got to change the doctrine of Judaism. Now, if this doctrine, as they say, was inspired by God, who never changes, and God who knows what's going to happen even before it happens, and he can stop it from happening, why would God choose to suffocate man in confusion for this many years? And then all of a sudden, he gets an epiphany and says, oh, you know what? Oh, this is not working. We are going to change it. And I'm going to send Jesus so he can die and this. And then everything will be different. Somebody says, so many doctrine. There are. And when you ask questions about why are there so many doctrines, so many denominations under the umbrella of Christianity, nobody can tell you why. I see a common thread, as in money. You know, if I have my own doctrine and you have yours, and I set up my doctrine and you set up yours, the funds that you collect is yours, the funds that I collect is mine. I see money as one of the motivating factors as to why Christianity has so many denominations. Christianity has over 50,000 denominations, and every single one of them claim to be the truth. And every single one of them claim to be following the Bible. And every single one of them claim that everything in the Bible is true. Yet they will tell you that the church over there is wrong. The church over there, they are worshiping wrong. I am worshiping the right way, and everybody else is wrong. And all 50 denominations will tell you that same thing. Yet they use the same book. That they all have people in their denominations that claim to read the book, study the book, understand the book, and are preaching the word to people. All of them have people who are reading the same book. Yet they can't come together. They cannot have a common understanding as to what the Bible say and what it means, and how to go about it, incorporating this in your lives. So if there are so many of you who are reading and you all claim that you all understand it, yet there's this infighting amongst you all, how are you going to be upset when somebody who is not a part of any of that organized religion have the same questions? Okay, each have a different perspective of what is written, all right? So why would that be? If God is inspiring them and God is not a God of confusion, why so many denominations and so many of them with this what you call difference in perspective? Because if they're being inspired by God, I would think that he would inspire them not to have these differences, because these differences cause confusion. That's the thing. If all of them are supposed to be worshiping the same God, yet they are they have differences in their understanding of the textbook that is supposed to be their guide. And they think the people who believe what they believe, the people who come to their denomination, are the ones who are going to reap the benefits, reap the rewards of this religion, of their denomination. How come? How come they can't come together and make one determination as to what is in the Bible, what they believe? So, because everybody has the same God, everybody have this, all of them have the same God, all of them have the same Satan, they have the same reward, they have the same punishment. So, how you all gonna get the same reward if everybody believes something different out of the same book? Everybody's acting different, yet they claim to be studying from the same book. Everybody's doing something different. The only thing you all are doing that is the same is collecting money. That's what you are doing, the same, collecting money. But everybody say, this one over here say, oh no, they believe in grace. Oh no, this one believe that everything in the Bible from the beginning to the end is true, and you got to obey. This one say, oh, I believe that you should not go anywhere, should not do anything on a Saturday. You need to stay home and not do anything. This one over here so say, you know what? We're not going to pay the Old Testament anymore. We're going to only use the New Testament. This one, everybody's doing their own thing. So who is right? How would I? All right, I'm the lay person. I'm the person who is lost. Let's just say that. I'm the person who is lost. I'm the person who is looking for truth. I'm the person who wants to find a congregation that I can worship with. I am the lost soul, okay? And there are all these 50 denominations in front of me. And these 50,000 denominations all are using the same book. I can't just run to anyone, right? But the others are going to be upset because they don't preach the same thing that we preach. They don't teach the same thing that we teach. Much for the confusion, isn't it? Some or all of them don't want to be preached to. They just you are right. They don't want to be preached to. They just want to be the preacher. That's a good one. They don't want to be, many of them don't want to be preached to. They want to be the preacher. So they go ahead and they open their own church, have their own denomination, and they tweak the scriptures to make it seem different from the others. You are so right about that. They try to make it different from the others so they can say, oh, well, look at this. I am different. I have seen the light. Isn't that much like Moses? Isn't that much like Moses? Now, look at this. Look at this. Moses claimed that God told him all these things, right? I have one question. At what point after creation was God interested in telling people how he wanted them to live? Imagine, say somebody come out with a line of hair cream. Them have it in tall bottles, them have it in short bottles, them have it in plastic containers, they have it in glass containers. They have just a wide variety of this product in different containers. But there is no instructions on the containers, and there is no label on these containers. You just know that they have something in them And the owner say, okay, just go ahead, just buy one, just buy it and use it however you will. I'm showing where I'm going with this. Then later on down the line, several years after this product has been on the market and people have been buying it and maybe using it as lotion or something, then the company comes out and say, oh, this product was meant for cooking, or this product was meant for washing your car, but you have been drinking it all this time because there was no instructions on it originally. That is how I see this whole story of Moses. Why I say this, why I make that analogy is because look at it. If you look at the Bible as it is, God created Adam and Eve. I'm going by what the Bible says now. God created Adam and Eve. Okay? Adam and Eve were not given any instruction as to how to conduct their lives, according to the Bible now. The only thing they were told, do not to eat of the fruit of the tree that was in the middle of the garden, because they will die. We know they didn't die. But they were not given any instructions as to what to and what not to do, what was acceptable and what was not. Did you all notice that? Okay. We see mankind living sort of a free-spirited, free-willed at that point, until God got so upset. According to the Bible, God got so upset because the people's sins reached to the highest heavens. So now, instead of saying, listen, I'm sorry I did not give you all a manual, I did not tell you all what my expectations of you were, and I see that you have just gone out and done just the wickedest things, the things that make me upset. So listen, this is what I want you all to do. I'm going to give you a manual. And from now on, I want you all to follow this manual, because this will make you live in accordance with my expectations for you. Right? How comes God never do that? Instead, according to the Bible, God wash away the world, flood out the world, and kill everybody. God flood out the world, kill everybody, left 8 people. And even after these 8 people were allowed to leave out of this ark, these 8 people were still not given any instructions as to how to conduct themselves in the world. The do's and the don'ts. They still were not given any. And then here comes Moses. And all of a sudden, God says, oh, well, it's about time. It's about time that I tell my people what I want them to do and what not to do. Don't I find that suspicious? And to think that there were lots and lots of other people in the world, and this God had not found it to be reasonable, or had not found it to be important to establish with the world, all these people that he made. He had not found it important to establish with them the do's and the don'ts, what they should and shouldn't do. I don't find that suspicious. But all of a sudden, he tells it to Moses. And he says, I have chosen you to tell you what I want your generation to do. So the rest of the world is chopped liver. The rest of the world wasn't important. The rest of the world, it wasn't important for the rest of the world to do these things, to get this blessing. It wasn't important. Clearly, it wasn't. Clearly, it wasn't. because I find it weird that that God would just select one family, one set of people to tell what he want them, how he want them to live. Well, where's about Lot's wife? Where's about Lot's wife, sis? What about her? Talk to me. You say something about Lot's wife. What about Lot's wife? The woman they say who turned into a pillar of salt. That the woman here talk. So them say she looked back when the family was running out of. Oh, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, you see, the Bible is built on a lot of fear mongering. The Bible is built on a lot of fear mongering. Because you see, we have heard this story of God destroying Sodom and Gomorrah because of how the people lived. But up until that point, I did not see where God told the people that that was wrong. So unless I miss something, if I miss something, please, I'd be happy for you all to catch me up. Up until that point, I had not seen, per the Bible, where God had presented to the people and say, listen, I don't want you to do this, that, the other, and the third. I don't want you to do that. I didn't see him tell the people that he didn't want them to do that. So how are you going to punish the people for doing something that they were never told in the first place was wrong? After 10, after 6, go yeah. That they were never told in the first place was wrong. That they were never told not to do, per the Bible. So, okay, so she says, these laws were set to give order to mankind. All right, but you notice it wasn't to every mankind, right? It was only to the people who were following Moses. Because it had nothing to do with the Egyptians and the Syrians and the rest of the people who were in the world. It was just for Moses and the children of Israel. Because they were the only ones who were important to this God. That's why I tell you, in my own estimation of it, it can't come from a godly place per my concept of a God. If you understand me. It can't be. Because I wouldn't want to accept or admit that this God would want to see one set of people thrive and excel and the rest of the world go to shits. That would be what I expected from my concept of God. Yes, my love, I'm going to work. I'm leaving here in the next 10 minutes. Yeah, in the next 10 minutes, I'll be out of here. Yeah, I would think that God would want everybody who he created to understand what his intentions are for them. And so he would have established these intentions and he would have been guiding the people into how they can fulfill these expectations. But it was until thousands of years after he had created mankind that all of a sudden he decides that he's going to establish laws for them to live by. After all these years, the God who knows everything finally decides that, oh well, now it's time for me to tell them how I want them to live. And if you notice the things that Moses said he was being told about how God wanted people to live, a lot of these laws that Moses was that Moses was given, if you notice, that people along his bloodline, along the bloodline of Jacob, had committed these offenses. But these people were, according to the Bible, considered to be holy and great people in the sight of God. God told Moses, say, God told him that sister and brothers can't be together. If they are, then they told them to be stoned and put to, you know what? Abraham and Sarah were sister and brother. Yet, Abraham said him and God make covenant. Okay? If you notice, each time Moses said this, Lord talked to him, he says, I'll give you this, I'll keep my covenant that I made with your father Abraham and your father Isaac and your father Jacob. All these things. Okay? So if God was making covenant with people who were living that lifestyle, what would have changed? Why can't continue make covenant with people who would have been doing that, who would have been living like that? So you see, it's like double standards. It's like it don't make sense, but people don't want to accept that it does not make sense. Yeah, people don't want to accept that it don't make sense. Because Abraham was married to his sister, in blood sister, they were the same father. And Abraham claimed that God was with him all the time and him and God had this great relationship. How come God did not tell Abraham, say, listen, marrying to your sister is wrong? God waited thousands of years to tell that to Moses. Say it's wrong for a man to be with his sister. Moses was stuttered. Moses was stammer. If you know what I talk about. My Jamaican people them know what I talk about. Moses stuttered when he spoke. How comes? How comes? A little bit of people in the on earth. A little bit. She said, a little bit of people in the on earth, so God couldn't afford to start slaying them for doing wickedness. You got a good point, Me a laugh, but you have a good point. Okay? She says there were just too few people on earth. God could not afford to make them start everybody who did something wrong. Because then nobody on left on earth. Are you right? Oh my God. Let me tell you something. The story would have made more sense if after this great flood that they said happened, if after this great flood, he had created some brand new people and given these brand new people the laws and judgments and ordinances that Moses said he got, and say, listen, I did not give it to the people prior to the flood, but I'm giving it to you now so that you cannot have any excuse as to why you're not doing the things I want you to do. So when we come again with this fire, you cannot say you were not told. You cannot say you were not warned. But him just let them out again like wild animal. Just let them out again, like go on out. No sense of direction, no nothing. They were still doing the same thing. They were doing the same things because they did not have any rule. You ever see something, you don't have no rule book, like if you're going to a house where the parents say, oh, they allow the children to do just about anything. The children, they don't really set any rules. The children do whatever they want. You notice how chaotic that can be? Because everybody's doing their own thing and everybody thinks what they are doing is right. And since there's nobody to check them to say, what you're doing is not right, they just do whatever, and it causes chaos. So how comes God was willing to make the people them live in a chaos for so long? Which means we are come. We are come for other. We are going for Adam and Eve. And for Moses to make those rules, well, that is the thing. That is why I say, no God not tell Moses nothing. Moses created those rules because in Moses' eyes, the children of Israel needed structure. Remember, Moses was raised in Egypt. Moses was accustomed to structure. He was in the Pharaoh's house. He saw how Pharaoh ran his house. He saw their religion. He got to read their religious books. He got to practice their religion because he was raised there. The children of Israel up until this point, they were just a chaotic existence. Just nobody, just going around, have their animal, go to bush, come back. They had absolutely no established culture, if you will. Religious culture, if you will. Good morning, Joe. It's an ends for Christ to come and sacrifice. Yes. Good morning, Jojo. How you doing? You come just in time, just in time when I get ready to leave. In the next 5 minutes, I'll be out of here. But good to see you. Happy New Year's Eve to you. This is like our 6th New Year's Eve together. Hope everything is going well with you, my love. Yeah. So it confuses me sometimes. It baffles me oftentimes to think that what Moses said God told him was not supposed to be the instructions for mankind forever and ever. What happened to the people who existed then? Did God ever talk to them to say, you know what? This is what I want you to do. If you notice when you read like in Leviticus and stuff, all you hear is that you must serve me because I am the one who brought you out of Egypt. That is said so many times in the Bible. It is as though this is supposed to be a bargain. It's as though God is establishing this bargain with the children of Israel, saying, okay, so you must be reminded every single day, everywhere you turn, you must be reminded that you owe me because I brought you out of bondage in Egypt. So you owe me. So anything I say you should do, you better do it. And if you don't do it, I'm going to cook you. I'm going to make your enemies triumph over you. I'm going to make you die by pestilence, by the sword. I'm going to all because you choose to go against what I have established for you, because you are being ungrateful, because I brought you out of Egypt. Like, my concept of a God is not that. So I find it to be very disturbing. Imagine you have your child and you tell your child all the things you want them to do. And anytime your child questions some of the things you want them to do, you remind them, listen, anything me say you have to do, you have to do it. Because I'm me carry you for 9 months, I'm me give birth to you. When me tell yourself to do something, you have to do it. And anyhow, you not do it. Me I go this, that, the other, and the third. Do you think you're going to continue to have a great relationship with your child? All right, you answered that question. You are never going to continue to have a good relationship with your child if that is how you're going to run the ship. And that explains why the children of Israel could not keep up. They couldn't keep up. That is why they were always failing. Because even these laws that Moses was giving them never practical. Them not practical. Them not reasonable. Them extreme. And even Moses himself could not keep up with these laws. Moses tell the people himself, if you stutter, God no want you at the altar. God no want no sacrifice from you. But Moses himself stuttered, and he believed that he was worthy to be presented to God, but nobody else. But nobody else was worthy to be presented to God. Moses told the people, God said them not to mix with the heathen, them not to make them daughters, they must make like the Jebusites and the Hittites and them people there. Don't make those people marry into their families. Don't make those people marry their daughters or their sons. And that must tell the people them, you know, they must marry their kin in their little cult. They must marry in there. But Moses himself was married to a whole Ethiopian. So how comes God did have one law for Moses and one law for the people? Listen. Listen. They have been telling lie on God from the beginning. Joseph from beginning them tell lie. And from beginning them tell lie upon God. It is so true. It is obvious. It is obvious. Moses was telling the people, God said, you know, if they didn't do this, the other, and the third, he was going to them. That was their reward for not obeying him. No room for recompense. That's what they got for disobeying. You know, you see why the people couldn't keep up, because how many animals were they supposed to keep bringing? Day and night animals. Turtle, doves, pigeons, all these things. And Moses said, God said it was supposed to be throughout all their generation. Them couldn't keep up. Them couldn't keep up. So I believe that the New Testament was invented because the people realized that this Old Testament stuff that Moses done told the people that God said to do, it could not be, it wasn't plausible. It could not be true. Times were changing. People were gone from the religion. The people them gone because the people them say, you know, look at it. When we look around us, the Egyptians are prosperous. The Syrians are prosperous. The Lebanese are prosperous. Everybody around us is prosperous. And they are doing their own thing. They are serving their own God. They are living their lives their own way. And they are prosperous. We, on the other hand, over here, so all we get up every day and I do, I sacrifice animal left and right, sacrificing animals day and night, and yet still, we are no better. We are not peace better today than we were yesterday. So the people them just start saying, you know something? We not stay over with this foolishness. Me gone. So they started to abandon this theology of Moses. They started to abandon it. And then you see what happened. People abandon it, people going about their business. People going to do something that makes sense. Just so that they can have some peace of mind. Because all that through Moses' law they got was misery. So the people them going to do that one thing. Miss Kits, you come just in time when I'm just about to go. Good morning, honey. How you doing? I'm hopping out right now. Well, I will come back later. I will see you all later this evening when I am back home. Morning, Miss Kits. How you doing, Sugar Bun? Yeah. When I come back later, we will may not continue the Bible conversation, but we will see each other. It's going to be New Year's Eve. So we are going to spend another New Year's Eve. We're going to spend another New Year's Eve together. All right? Our people, it's 6:30. Thanks to everybody who came into the live. I will see you all sometime later. Guys, have yourselves a good day. I have 2 minutes to run out of the house and go to people's house. Monet, I sincerely appreciate your contribution to the chat. Joseph, I will see you later, love bug.